Day 2 of my road trip. I just want to have breakfast. I stayed at a hotel in Titusville, and Titusville is like this little small town in Florida. And the last time I was in Titusville, I actually went to a funeral for a friend of mine in the poetry community. She passed away from sickle cell complications. And so that was the last time I was in Titusville, and now I'm back here. And it's feeling really nostalgic in a lot of different ways, and it's feeling really eye-opening. Just like this whole trip has been very, like, spiritual, I guess. Yesterday, I left where I was, and I stopped in Orlando, and I bought like a day pass to go to like this resort. So I'm there like chilling in the hot tub or whatever, and this lady comes up and she starts talking to me, and it's like the conversation that we had was just out of this world. Like it was just like it was destined for us to have that conversation. A lot of confirmations, a lot of clarity on things, and I'm just like really grateful for that conversation. It just really confirmed a lot of things for me. It didn't, I don't know, like I'm still a little bit confused. Like there's still a little bit more to unfold, but it just let me know that I'm on the right track. And then so in our conversation, she was like, okay, so what are you doing tonight? Because I told her, like, you know, what I was planning on doing or whatever. And we connected on, you know, having hard to deal with mothers, we'll just say. And she was like, so what are you doing tonight? And I was like, you know what? I might go to Halloween Horror Nights. Because when I was younger, I always wanted to go. And I ended up never going. Then I started thinking about it more, like where does that desire to go to Halloween Horror Nights come from? Because I'm not really a gory kind of person. Like I don't like the blood and like seeing people be killed and seeing people be hurt, but I do like supernatural things. I do like that side of like when it comes to Halloween stuff. Like I like that side of it. And so I was like, I don't know like what is really drawing me to Halloween Horror Nights. And there's a reason why all these years I never went. And part of it is like the cost. Like I just think that that's a lot of money to just be standing in line. But that's how much you pay to get on the rides. And you're standing in lines for much longer, it seems, than you would to go in haunted houses. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pay the money and go. But then I kept thinking about it, and I'm like, I'm tired. Like, I just want to, like, take a bath and go to bed. I had a long day driving and swimming and all that stuff and being out in the sun and, like, talking to people. I just want to, like, go home. Like, well, yeah, go home, but I obviously couldn't go home. So I was like, let me just book a hotel and relax. So I ended up not going. So this morning, I woke up my hotel in Titusville, and there's a diner like right next to it. It's like this little small town, whatever. So I'm like, let me stop and get breakfast, because the hotel offered like a discount for breakfast. So I was like, you know what, before I get on the road, let me stop and get some breakfast. And the lady, the server, she was just like really, the best way I can describe it is like, you know, when you watch like old movies or whatever, and the server is just like really, like she knows everybody, all the regulars that come in town, and she's just like really sweet and just motherly and nurturing and like just everything that an old school white mother should be. Not to offend anyone, but like I'm just throwing it out there. Like you guys, when I say that, I hope you guys can understand what I'm saying, right? So she was just like all of the things that a stereotypical server would be, like just sweet and and making sure everything was okay. And it didn't get this vibe of I'm just being nice so that I could get a good tip. It was just like she was just genuinely that person. Like that was just her. And it made me start thinking, like, because you know, like I grew up in big cities or whatever. I live in I would consider a big city right now. And when you go to, like, let's say a diner or whatever, or any place where you're being served, the vibe is just very different. It's more so like, I'm just here to do my job, and I'll make small talk, but it's all to make sure that I can secure my tip. And it's just a different vibe. Or sometimes you just get a whole attitude altogether. And it made me start thinking, like, what is the difference in mindsets between a woman or even a man, a server that lives in a small town like where I just left, and a server that lives in a big town? And what causes a server to have such an attitude to where you know, they just treat you any kind of way? It's like, and then so like when I started thinking about it, I'm like, okay, well, maybe just certain personality types aren't meant for serving. Like, you shouldn't, if you're like, you know, not happy with where you are, then serving isn't something that you should go into. It should, like, basically, there are some people in this world that were just meant to serve, meant to be servers. And they're just naturally good at it, and they win favor naturally. Like, it's not, I guess I want to make sure that I'm like explaining this in the correct kind of way. It's like you can tell that she was born, not necessarily born, but she was meant to be a server, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I think that entitlement, I think that not being true to who we are and just doing something out of necessity is what causes servers who are just rude and disgusting and nasty. Because when somebody's serving your food, you want them to be like polite. You want to walk out of there feeling good and feeling like you're ready to start, you know, the day, or ready to go on about your journey or whatever it is that you're doing. Like, the person that serves you your food should leave you with a sense of comfort and security. And that's what I felt today leaving that place, and it started, like, what came up was the entitlement that some people have, and even I've had it, like, in certain jobs where it's like, I'm better than this job, like, I shouldn't be here, or whatever the case is. And just understanding, like, having that mindset, it doesn't just affect you, it affects everybody that you come into contact with. Because whether I want to admit it or not, coming into contact with somebody who's rude and serving me my food, it doesn't impact my mood as I'm leaving. It does put me in a different, like, vibe and a different mind state. Even if I want to claim that I'm being mindful of it and whatever the case is, it does. Even if it's just for like a brief moment, it does. It completely changes things. And so, because, like, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, maybe she has, like, a husband that takes care of her, and she really doesn't have to do this. But what if she's a single mom, and she's still able to have that positive attitude about being a waitress in a diner in 2023? I'm sure she's not, like, maybe she is, because, like I said, people like, that place was packed up, and I'm sure it's with people that are locals that come there just to see her. So maybe she is making money, because, and I guess that's what I meant by naturally you'll be blessed if you just settle into the role instead of saying, oh, I'm better, I don't want to be a server. Servers don't make anything. I have kids to feed, and I have all of this stuff, and I have to, you know, make a living for myself. And instead of being worried about all of that, just settle into the role that you're currently in. Do your very best at it. Be your best at it, and you'll be blessed. So she probably makes good money. I'm sure she does. Like I said, that place is packed, and a lot of them were regular people that come there often. And for the new people, like, there was a couple sitting behind me. She was just, like, genuinely nice to everybody, just understanding, and just like that mom that you just, that quintessential mom figure is what she was. And, you know, like I said, that's probably what brings people back. And so just like having that perspective on things, like no matter where you are in life and what you're doing, you're there for a reason. So be grateful. Be grateful that you even have a job, even if it's working at McDonald's, even if it's being a janitor, whatever it is. You'll be blessed as long as you do your best. That's the message that I came up, so whatever. It rhymed. I know, corny, but anyway. So yeah, that I wanted to talk about that, and there was another thing I wanted to talk about. As I was leaving the restaurant, well, the diner, I was watching a reading by Joya. Joya knows. She is an excellent tarot reader. Like, if there ever was a reader that I would endorse, it would be her. Like, she is spot on with a lot of things. And I was watching her Gemini reading last night as I was driving, and she said something about feathers being significant. And it just kind of like, whatever. As I was leaving the diner, I kind of like stumped my toe, like I almost tripped or whatever, and I looked down, and there was a feather on my toe. So, shout out to Joya. Like I said, she's amazing. Like, there was a reading that she did where she like completely read my whole life. Not my whole life, but she completely read a situation that ended up being exactly what she said it was going to be. And that's not the first time. Like, literally every reading that I watch of hers, something in there ends up being true. Ends up coming true, or ends up happening, or ends up, whatever. So, I guess I want to use that to kind of say, don't take everything that is being said in a reading to heart, because, like a lot of readers say, the messages are general. So a lot of different people are watching it. There's going to be something specific for everybody. So maybe in that whole reading that I watched, because she talked about a lot of different things, maybe the feather thing was just for me. Maybe one or two other things were for me. Maybe sometimes none of it is for me. But I truly do believe that if you're watching, you could be watching thousands of other readers. So if I'm watching that particular reading, or if I feel compelled to watch it, there is at least one thing in there for me. So, but there were other things that were said that I was a little bit more in tune to, and probably was not for me. But the feather thing, like, I remembered it, but I was like, oh, whatever. I just kind of let it pass, and then it just happened today. But there was other things, like, her saying that, like, people from the past are coming back and all these different kind of things. That's kind of more relevant to what's going on with me. So, of course, I'm going to be a little bit more in tune with that. So just, I guess I'm saying all that to say, just be mindful that you're not projecting your current circumstances onto the readings that you're listening about. It may sound like it applies, but it may or may not. So just kind of take it with a grain of salt. Just listen and then see how things play out. It may or may not be that, even though you are waiting for somebody in the past to come back, for example, and they say that in the reading, it doesn't necessarily mean that particular part was for you. So, yeah. Like I said yesterday, I'm just like really settling into the angles in this video are terrible because I'm having to hold the phone and drive with one hand. So yeah. I'm just really settling into the reality that I may just be on my own. And that being okay. Yeah, like going back to the Halloween Horror Night situation. So when I made the decision to go to Halloween Horror Nights, I essentially was like, that's not a place I would want to go by myself. I know that people do, but I personally wouldn't want to. So then it put me in the space of who can I go with? So then I called somebody that I know in Orlando. Somebody that like I just, and then immediately as we started talking on the phone, I was reminded of why I stopped talking to them in the first place, because they're in the exact same mental state that I left them in. And it's like, there's this thing with men, and I don't know if women do this too, because again, I don't date women, but when there's this thing that men do where it's like, they'll come in your life and they'll talk about all these things, that all these changes they want to make, and all these things that they want to do and be, right? And then you kind of like, you're not going to wait for them to do all of that. So you just kind of like give them space to do it, and then come back like a year later, months later, and they're still like, they're either worse off than they were before or still in the exact same mind state. And it's like, okay, so were you just saying all that shit just to make me think that you are willing to change when you're really not? You're just comfortable and complacent where you are, and you want me to take care of you, basically. Like, and then so you lie and make it seem like you have ambition when you really don't, because you know that that's what I'm looking for, and you wanted to try to bait me. So you say, oh, well, you know, these are all the things. Because to me, it's like everything that I talk about, I am about. So if I sit down and talk to somebody, for example, about changes that I want to make in my life, or what I want to do, or any of that kind of stuff, the next time you see me, I'm going to be closer to that, if not have accomplished it. And that's just the way that I operate in anything that I do. Everything that comes out of my mouth is the truth, is what I'm planning on doing. I don't just speak. I don't use words loosely. I don't use words irresponsibly. I don't just like talk for no reason. Well, not for no reason, to manipulate other people, really, because that's what it is at the end of the day. Like, you have no plans to initiate any of these things, but you just sit there and you talk. And this is why this is why I have such an issue with when guys come back and they say, oh, well, you know, in 3 years or in a couple months, I'll be ready to be. No, if you're not ready right now, get out of my face. Simple. Because I know that that's the game that people play. I don't want to just say men, because I'm sure women do it too. I don't understand that concept. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And from men's track records, they're just not that way. And I can't continue to put myself in positions to be in the same space with them if they're operating like that, because that's not the way I operate, and that's clearly not in alignment. They can go find somebody else who operates under that same notion, but of course they don't want to be around somebody who just talks shit all day and doesn't want to move and doesn't want to do anything, because that's not beneficial to them. They want somebody who's going to do all the work for them, and that's not, like, I'm just not signing myself up for that. I just would rather be by myself. So I found myself back in that space. So when I called him, I was like, you know, he was like making all these excuses or whatever about all this shit. Oh, you know, if I had known that you were going to call me, I would buy you flowers. Like, what is the purpose in saying all of that? Either you're going to buy the flowers or you're not going to buy the flowers. Simple. Like, are you waiting for me to be like, oh, well, you know, I would love flowers or whatever? Like, I don't have time for that shit. Be confident, stand on your square, and if you want to give me flowers, give me flowers. And if I don't like the shit, then I just don't like it. And you're going to have to be willing to accept that. Like, I just don't, because I'm saying that because maybe they're not sure whether or not I would want flowers. To me, I think that's bullshit. I think it's honestly just they don't want to put the effort in to buy flowers. So for them, just simply stating that the intention is there is enough, and it carries them as far as they want to go. It's worked with other women. Because he's actually told me that. He likes that, you know, certain manipulation tactics don't work with me. So then why do you keep trying that? Why do you keep doing them? If you see that they don't work with me, why do you keep doing it? Go play those games with those low vibrational women that you've been playing those games with, and do that with them. I don't understand why you're bringing that over here when I've proven to you time and time and time, over and over and over again, that I'm not the one to be playing with. I honestly think that that's what it is. They want to pretend, like, make it seem like, oh, well, you know, I've given people flowers in the past before, and it didn't. No. You just wanna ride the coattails of intention without actually having to follow through on it. That's what you want, and I'm not here for it. So that's basically what ended up happening. So then I had to, like, kind of think about that and process all of that kind of stuff, and I just finally made the decision, like, if I do go to Halloween Horror Nights with him, he's gonna annoy me the whole time. I'm gonna be annoyed. He's gonna ruin it. Because his vibe is going to be on some other shit, and it's just going to ruin my whole experience. And then so he was supposed to ride with me down south or whatever to help me pack and move my stuff. And I just was like, no, I'm good. No, I'm good. I can do it all myself. It's fine. I'd rather the peace. I'd rather be able to just chill. Be immersed in my thoughts if I want, sit in silence if I want, listen to the music that I want without any of that being judged or any of that being imposed upon. Like, I just, no. So, yeah. That's the story. That is the story. I am maybe 2 hours from Fort Lauderdale, so I think that's all I want to talk about for right now. Until next time, guys. Be well.